renegotiated with CAMS, and I can now confirm that as of today, the prices at both airports will be the same.
Have you followed through on your application to the Office of the Prime Minister for bringing in fuel independently?
Oh, immediately, Kit, we wrote back the Prime Minister, and we asked him what was going on, and we reminded him about our application, and we did follow through on it. So I expect that they will have to decide whether or not they will continue to open up the market. And by opening up the market, there may be other operators that may also want to have this facility. The difficulty I think Tony will have is that, if all the operators decide to do this, the control of the quality control is something that I know that he would be concerned about.
Well, this issue has in fact arisen, Tony. ASL are bringing in fuel into the country in ISO containers, and they claim that you should be letting them use it on the airport, so why not?
Well, many issues. First of all, they've never notified us that what they're doing or where the fuel is coming from.
So let's get that absolutely straight, because I think it's very important that the public understand this. ASL have never at any stage indicated to you as the management of the airport that they wish to bring in their own fuel.
Absolutely. If they've done that, we have told them what to do. We've told them apply as a fuel handling agent.
So they have not applied?
They've never applied, no.
Do ASL have a fixed handling facility that would qualify them to store the fuel?
They have no storage facility that I'm aware of that would comply with EPA standards or the airport standards or fire safety standards at the moment. No facility.
You've raised EPA standards, and I'm glad you did that. The airport is also governed in terms of hazardous material.
Absolutely.
By its EPA permit.
Correct.
Explain that a bit.
Well, the EPA permit considers all hazardous material and hazardous waste as issues which the airport must address in its permit. The big single issue in terms of aviation fuel is that it must be stored on airside, it must be stored in a proper manner, and it must be stored approximately more than 100 feet from buildings because of the fire hazard. And of course, the storage itself, from a point of view of contaminants, not from the EPA point of view, but from the point of view of the standards of the airport, has to be established. Quality control, as I mentioned before, for the issuance and the disturbance. Really, the whole tracking of the fuel from the time it arrives in the country until it gets to those storage tanks need to be determined and supplied to the airport.
And you have, as I understand it, the airport has no knowledge of that.
We have no knowledge of that, no.
So the fact that it arrives in the country in an ISO container does not necessarily mean very much.
No, it needs to be removed from the container in a specific manner. It needs to be put in a certified tanker. It needs to be brought on airfield and brought on airfield to most probably a storage facility that is certified and approved. And it needs to be filtered in various manners before it's put on the aircraft.
Has the GEA provided you with any evidence that that is happening?
No, not at all. The GEA, I understand, are supposed to certify the standards for the tankers and to certify the standards for the fuel, but I don't think they have in this case.
So, to sum it up, the airport has had no prior knowledge of ASL wishing to bring fuel in.
No.
Had no prior knowledge that the government, in fact, had granted them information.
No.
Granted them permission to bring it in. And has no prior knowledge or any information at all on the methods by which the fuel, after it arrives in the country, is being transported.
Handled and transported and stored, no.
Yeah. And Kit, I also wanted to add to that very quickly, because there's been some misrepresentation about my company, CAMS, and we feel very strongly about it. And I just want to make it lucidly clear that we have no desire to deny Air Services the right for them to import their own fuel. We have no reason to insist or ask that they buy fuel directly from CAMS. So if ASL want to continue with this process. I would strongly advise them to apply to the airport, deal with Tony's safety requirements. And I think Tony has a small throughput charge of $10, which is not very expensive considering the level of investment. So I think that a lot of this aggression is totally unnecessary, that they should go through the normal steps. And I know that they have the money, they have the capability to comply. So I would urge them to move in that direction.
Now, Minister Robeson Ben, when you stopped the fuel coming in, spoke to you about it.
Yes.
And he asked you to allow the fuel onto the airport. Is that correct?
Yes, the minister.
And
yes.
have you written the minister about that?
Yes, we have written the minister pointing out that this arrangement, unfortunately, is compromising the ability of the airport to manage safety, and asking them to intervene in this process. I think that the minister is deliberating at this moment on how to deal with it. I think that the problem with the fuel, I believe, is that there's not a lot of fuel expertise in the country, Kit, and this is something that is that probably the minister is.
We've only got about 5 minutes left. So what would be the bottom line in terms of the legal implications if you allowed fuel onto an aircraft, Tony, in the airport that is not authorized?
The airport can be liable if there were an accident where it could be proved that contaminated fuel got into an aircraft. The airport could be liable for permitting an operator with a substandard system of procedure of delivery, transportation into an aircraft. The airport could be liable.
And you have to protect against that.
Well, the airport has to protect against that. But more importantly, Kit, not only liability, what about the lives of the traveling public? I would consider the safety of the traveling public more important at this stage than the liability.
And that is certainly put at risk if fuel is not, am I correct?
If we do not manage
fuel,
managed and stored, if fuel is not managed in a proper manner.
Well, I think the point must be made, Kit, that this is an international airport. This is not a domestic airport. It has to operate with international standards.
And even if it were, Michael, the risk to passengers using unauthorized fuel would be considerable. Right. We've got about 2 or 3 minutes left. We've talked about the development of the airport, and we've had to face challenges of the kind that we've some time now been talking about. How do you see the future?
Well, Kit, I think that these problems that we have, it is not, Tony, as though we haven't had problems over the history of development of the airport. So I think that this too will pass, and we'll get our ducks lined up in a row and get things done. Tony has mentioned that the 200-foot concrete runway will be completed in October. We have some additional work to do, work on the terminal, work on the hard standing, and we expect that the regional airport should be ready, as I said before, by summer. That's going to be really great. I think that once you get to that level, we really, truly be a full international airport, and I'm really excited about that. We already have connections to Suriname, which everybody loves and is enjoying. We'll have connections.
We have 9 flights.
We have 9 flights to Suriname. We'll have flights to Brazil, Bovista, Manaus within 2 years. We'll have flights to Venezuela. We'll have flights to Trinidad. We'll have flights to Barbados. The traveling public will have other options. It'll be great for tourism. It'll be great for business, the diplomatic community, the politicians. All of these people will love that kind of operation. So I think it will be of tremendous economic benefit to the country.
Well, we've been talking about development at Ogle Airport. We've been talking about some of the challenges that development has faced. I want to thank Mr. Michael Correa, who is the chairman of Ogle OAI, and Mr. Colonel Tony McDeasy, who has the onerous task of being the Chief Executive Officer. Thank you, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Kit.
Thank you, Kit.